Recording in progress.
Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch with your host, the real_G Warner. We are going through a few minutes before match day starts. We have lineups out. Going to go through a last, day of the Serie A campaign until we get ready for the summer filled with the Club World Cups. Probably do a few more soccer episodes based on some relegation battles or the relegation playoffs or promotion playoffs that we might see across Europe. But do plan to be looking after the Club World Cup this summer, and we'll see how far we get along with that. Happy holiday to all those in the United States celebrating the Memorial Day weekend. I'm still a little banged up from yesterday, I gotta admit, but we are here, and I figured I'd try to go through each of the games before we get to those final minutes with kicking and all that sort of stuff, and try to find some winners on this episode. We are 49-21, 70%. Year to date on the ultimate best bet. I take my favorite picks. I smash them all together at the end of the episode. We'll be doing that in some different of a fashion today, but still plan to have a pick coming end of show. So without further ado, let's get to Serie A. I do have a table in front of me as well. Plus we can discuss the numbers here. So we'll start with Atalanta hosting Parma. Currently, Atalanta half a goal favorite right now. All the juice is on the home team. Total is 3, just a little bit more to under. Now, Atalanta have nothing to play for. They are on 74 points, confirmed in a Champions League spot. And Parma on the other side have everything to play for. They're currently 2 points ahead of both Lecce and Empoli, 1 point behind Verona. So all those teams, I think, could be potentially relegated. There's also... So Monza already down, Venezia above them, Empoli on 31 as well. So there's a lot to play for here for Parma, and we've been seeing some of the money coming in on the Atalanta side. So since I've been tracking this, I initially saw a 3/4 of a goal underdog. We're now at even money at BetOnline on 1/2 of a goal. So clearly some money has been coming in on Parma, and I certainly like that side. I think what I've learned through the years of soccer betting is essentially we are looking for motivation edges, and there's a significant one on the team trying to stay up in Serie A, especially since it's been a while since Parma have been there. And then Atalanta with nothing to play for, I think puts Parma almost guaranteed to be a consideration for that best bet end of show. I think I do have some question potentially about wanting to play an under there. Parma's offense has not been great, but I don't really want to lose a total that would then potentially make my my bet on the side just juice out. I want to be careful. I'm not cheapening my play. So I think I might just put Parma on the list at a 1/2 of a goal underdog on the road at Atalanta. A point would be good for them. Probably does not guarantee them safety, but it goes a long way to doing that. Certainly Venezia cannot catch them if that occurs. Actually, Venezia cannot catch them at all. But there's a race at the bottom. So in the interest of time, I'll move on. And then if we get back to having more time later or someone asks, I'll go through lineups as well. So let's move next to Lazio hosting Lecce, another battle. This one for Europe and I think at the bottom as well. So we have Lazio currently sitting 6th position on 65 points, one behind their hated city rival Roma, who I do have a scarf around my neck for. Milan are 2 points behind Lazio, but they've already finished their season, cannot catch them. Fiorentina are 3 points behind, and so that could be a possibility there. They could be tied, but goal differential currently goes Fiorentina direction. It will if Lazio lose today as well. So there's I think some threat for Lazio, and that's why the spread is as big as it is. So currently Lazio 1.25 goal favorites. Juice is 3 in this one, juiced all the way to under, which feels a little bit high to me, considering Lecce's inability to score this season. So yeah, it's been bet up to 3, and then it seems like there's some buyback there. I mean, ultimately there should be a huge offer to push on 3. Very, very important. From a Lecce perspective, they are they're tied for the last, they're on the same number of points as the 18th position first relegated team. There's 3 that go down automatically, no playoffs, nothing like that in Serie A as far as I know. But currently Lecce, they did institute a rule a couple seasons ago where if 2 teams tie for relegation positions and they have the same number of points, then they go into a playoff. So that's still very much, I guess, a possibility. Lecce will be watching for, because I guess if Lecce lose, Venezia can pass them, and so can Empoli, of course, as they're on the same amount of points coming into today. Parma and Lecce get the same results, can't go anywhere, and Lecce can at best tie Verona. So I don't know necessarily that Lecce, I mean, they certainly need to win this one. They want to. I wonder if they're on the road at Lazio, one of the best clubs, Europa League team from this season, if they're probably good for a point, which would essentially, if Empoli and Venezia both win, then Lecce would go down in that scenario. But the total feels pretty big to me right now. I think Lecce, I mean, they've not shown they can score goals at all through any part of this campaign. We have a push on 3, far bigger than the number I made. And yes, there's some stress on Lecce. They might be going for it more late if they're potentially out of the competition. But Lazio are also playing for something too. And I think there's a good chance that we see a really focused Lazio. I think Lecce enter in to defend. That's I think their game plan. And I think that certainly pushes towards under, where I think Lazio will be trying to hold on to a win. Maybe not necessarily needing to win in style, but ultimately needing to just get a win so they can finish on as many points as possible to try to then jump their city neighbors. So for me, I think Lecce, I mean, 1.25 is interesting, but I think I'm under 3 is more of interest to me at the moment. Move next to Empoli hosting Verona. Currently, Empoli half-a-goal favorites. All the juice on Verona. Total is 1.75. Juice all the way to over. And this feels like a tiny total. Small totals are a thing in Italy for sure. I think more of a thing below 2, especially in Spain in La Liga. But at this point, Empoli, they're in the precarious 18th position, would be relegated if they lose today. Unless something crazy happens with Lecce. But I think based on where they're sitting in the tables at the moment on the same amount of points, they are 2 points behind Parma and 3 points behind this Verona side, who I thought had pretty much clinched their safety last week. I guess that's not completely guaranteed. And it's good because that means that we'll probably get a better effort from Verona. And I think from the marketplace, certainly betting that total down through 2, below 2 to 1.75 from an initial 2.25 what I first saw. Clearly, there's been a lot of love for under here, and I think that kind of goes along with my idea that there's not a lot of scoring here. That Verona are going to do everything they can to stay in this league. A point will do that for them. I think we see some defense today. I think Verona are better than Empoli, not much, but certainly shows that in the table so far. Empoli have scored a lot more goals this season than I think anyone would have expected. But I think that's going to be a scary thing because if they get in a shootout, I think Verona have more talent to score. Maybe less motivation on the road is also a bit of a change, but that half of a goal underdog, certainly when a point gets them safety, I think there's a good chance that Verona can win this match. Probably not extremely high, but I think there's a good chance they get a result. And all we need is a draw away from home, or a win would certainly be nicer, but that would win us a full bet. So Verona half a goal, interesting for me there. We still got 3 matches left to go as we got about 20 minutes till kickoff. Of course, anyone with any questions, feel free to throw them in there. Hadjar, welcome, Joe. Yeah, the best guy ever. I need to, I don't know, not go out on a boat all day yesterday. Then maybe I would have cut the reel for Formula One today. But good to see you, Joe. Hope you're having a great holiday. Let's go next to Venezia hosting Juventus. Currently, Venezia 1.25 goal underdog with all the juice. Total is 3, just a little bit more to under. So Venezia on 29 points. They need to win. A draw, they're still relegated, so they're going for it. And that's scary because Juventus are not anywhere near the name value, but they're 1 point ahead of Roma, 2 points ahead of Lazio, could be caught by both those clubs, and they need Champions League, so they're going to try to win too. That's probably not a great thing for an underplay here, which is my strongest interest with any Venezia game at this point of the season, or really all this year. I think from a Juventus perspective, I mean, they are certainly much better, much more talented. They haven't really gone to that shell of trying to protect like 1-0 leads or something like that, like they had in the past. I think the question for me, though, is both these teams trying to go for it, needing wins. I guess Juve don't need one as bad as Venezia do because Venezia are relegated with a draw. So Juve could certainly hold on. If they get a point here, then they would be on 68 points. That would potentially keep them ahead of Lazio, but I don't know that's for sure. And I don't really want to go too far with the amount of time we have left into the permutations, but there's to me some value, I think, in the big home underdog Venezia, because there's a lot of problems with Juve, but they're also going to be going for it late. And while if it's tied 1-1, let's say in the final stoppage time, and they're sending Venezia's keeper forward, if they concede that empty net goal, the nice part though is they still cover half your bet because you're getting half of your bet at +1 and half at +1.5 based on the current 1.25 that I'm seeing at BetOnline. So that's of interest. I think the under 3 is a little bit more difficult to stomach, but I think also plays into a low scoring game. Venezia haven't showed they could score at all, and will certainly be dying every chance they have to try to find some sort of set piece or something. And they know that they can't score with Juve. So I think getting a high scoring game is not something that Venezia will try to do today. We'll move next to Udinese hosting Fiorentina. Currently, Udinese quarter goal underdog with more juice here. Totals 2.5, juice slightly more to under. This one has a lot less than the line. I guess Fiorentina are still playing to cross and jump above Milan. They're 1 point behind, and maybe that gets them into a better European position. Maybe if they get to 65, they could be tied with Lazio. I'm not sure necessarily. But from a Udinese perspective, they've had nothing to play for a long time. That makes it really hard for me to want to get involved at all, really. So I will probably pass along that one and move to the next matchup. And that is the last one to discuss. And I do have a scarf of one of these clubs around my neck as I'm speaking, and that is Roma. They are on the road at Torino. Total is 2.75, just a little bit more to under. Torino, 1 goal, full goal underdog at home as we speak. I don't know necessarily. So Torino have had nothing to play for a while. So that's put them in a pretty nice position, I think, to be a bet against type of team. I don't know necessarily that they, it's tough because teams that go on the beach, they don't really come back from the beach and all of a sudden focus. So less to be interested in for Torino, sitting in 11th position on 44 points. Instead, it's Roma, who are 1 point ahead of Lazio, 1 point behind Juventus, who are fighting to try to get into Champions League. And that would be an incredible close to their season to finish there, considering the 3 managers they went through earlier this season, et cetera, et cetera. I think, unfortunately, there's just not enough here for me to want to back Torino because they're the worst team and they have nothing to play for. So that's probably a skip for me. In terms of the total, not sure that that's any different of a feeling because I think I've kind of learned the hard way that teams on the beach are just not worth putting our hard-earned money behind. So we're now 15 minutes from kickoff. Hopefully, if those of you are here, you might be enjoying this. Okay, here we go. Joe's in here. Lazio and Juve over 1.5 team total parlay plus 120. So that's pretty much going against what I just said. I mean, you're certainly allowed to do that, Joe. But I think Lazio, if they're going to score a bunch of goals, they certainly have that ability. But I think both those matches are involving relegation sides that are going to do everything they can to keep it low scoring. It might not work. The dam may break at a certain time, but I think that's going to be some of those their opposition are focusing so hard on trying not to let them score because I think they're going to try to kill those games, take a 1-0 lead at the end, essentially, and try to make that happen. 2 of the worst defenses being Lecce and whoever Juventus is playing, and Venezia. Maybe so, but I feel like they're not that bad of defenses, in my humble opinion, because they play defense 1,000% of the time. And I think that makes any team that's just consistently giving the ball away because they can't create much and they have to defend. I think it makes their defense look a lot worse than it is. And that's certainly something I'm planning on trying to use moving down the stretch. And for potentially, I think we had a really good close to the soccer season, but certainly want to start with kind of that strategy, identifying those teams early in the season next year, and then using that, I think, to our advantage, potentially to find the market overreacting to certain things. So, I don't know. I guess we do have a couple minutes, so I might as well try to tackle on to some lineup stuff. I'll go quickly to Parma FC. They are currently looks like same front line of Pellegrino and Boni. I'm not sure that they're great, but they're there and they've been there a while. Zion Suzuki, goalkeeper's important. We have Del Prato Valeri on as fullbacks. Cercati is a name I don't really know very much about, but I think that's due to suspension or injury while he's in there. Valenti, Ballo. I mean, that's pretty normal. And then midfield seems like everyone's there. From the Atalanta side, we have Charles de Ketelaere, who's been so good this year, and of course, Retegui has been awesome too. Retegui. Maldini's really good future in front of him, but I don't know that he's produced so much. And Atalanta, I mean, they're a great team. They have all the names in here for the most part, but they're just they don't have anything to play for. And I think that's a huge value for Parma in this one. From Lecce and Lazio, let's go there. Looks like we have what you'd expect from Lazio, because they're trying to win too. But in terms of goal scoring, because I like under, I think, more than I like the side here on Lecce, though, like both. Their defense looks normal. Same thing with their midfield. Berisha coming in as a central attacking midfielder, like a 10, is a little bit different for me. But I don't know necessarily that there's a lot in that striking scoring range for Lecce that are very intimidating. From a Lazio's perspective, Zaccagni is still, I think, their best creator and most important player. They have Santo Pedro, who's on the bench, as he's being called in Napoli. But the awesome midfield is there with Guendouzi and Rovella. And so that's and Nuno Tavares, who's going to be a huge threat as a left back. So those are things that I think be thinking about. In terms of other matches, let's go to Verona and Empoli. That's certainly a very interesting one. At the bottom, I think we see looks like a normal Empoli back line. Ismaili is back in there. Golucide as well, and Viti seems to always be there. Giassi as right wing back. Cache is interesting as a attacker, because I think he's more a defender, but that probably helps the under, or at least to low scoring matches. From a Verona side, we have Perilli in goal, which is different. I guess Montipo is hurt. And then Ghilardi, Coppola, Valentini, Chachua, Bradaric as the back five. Davidovic, who's basically the center back who's playing midfield now. I mean, this is a pretty defensive setup for Verona. I think that also reflects the low scoring expectations of this match, seeing it bet through 2.25 all the way down to 1 3/4. I think I lean to under strongly, but if I don't have the 2, I'm not playing it. And then other than that, I guess we can do Venezia and Juventus, and then I'll close this off so I can get my Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/real_G all the picks so they know where we're going, and try to get that in their hands as quickly as possible. A little bit hard to do live, as I'm also recording. But Radu Shingten, Sverko, who I think is coming back from injuries, which means no Idzes, which is potentially scary for Venezia's defense. Yeboah Fila up front. I mean, they haven't done anything in months, it feels like. And so I think this is going to be a game where Nicolusi Caviglia is going to be very important in defense, but as a midfielder. From a Juventus side, we have Colomwani starting. Yildiz is Conceição. Conceição, I think, the best creator for Juve all season. But interesting to see No Vlahovic starting in this matchup, which I think they're going to try to use Colomwani's speed. He's a great scorer, but he's more, to me, of a counterattacking player, and Venezia will not be pushing up the field too much, except they do need to win and they do need to score. So maybe that's the thinking there. Thuram Locatelli in the middle, Nico Gonzalez in his new right wing back role, Cambiaso as well on the other side. I mean, there's a lot of talent on Juventus, but do we trust them is the biggest question. So I think it's time to get to the ultimate best bet. We've gone through lineups. There's not too much time. We're on sub 10 minutes left on before these matches kick off. So I think it's time for the ultimate best bet. So let's get into it. Let me just make sure I know where I'm going with it. And I do. So let's go 3, 2, 1. I don't think I have any more comments. So thank you, Joe, for putting those out there. Okay, let's go 3, 2, and 1. Hey, this is Real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet from the Betting the Pitch Soccer podcast. We are 49-21, 70% year to date in our best bets. Pick my favorite pick across all the leagues I covered. Today was just a Serie A episode, but we went through the last kind of clinching scenarios, who's going to avoid relegation, all those sort of things, maybe even qualify for a Champions League position. But for the best bet on this episode, let's go with Parma, half a goal underdog on the road at Atalanta. They have everything to play for, trying to save their position in Serie A, whereas Atalanta have nothing to play for. And I'm going to bet that as like an arbitrage type of scenario where, yes, the team is much better, but they don't have the same interest in this game. So give me Parma, half a goal underdogs on the road at Atalanta for this last potential best bet of the 2025 soccer season. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. I'll, of course, try to announce what's happening moving forward as we get to the summer season. But baseball stuff coming out. Still have plenty with pregame.com there, and trying to get at A Brooks Bets back on the pod for the future. So I'll talk to you all very soon.
Recording stopped.